Call it unlucky, call it unfortunate, but Nebraska loses more one-score games than any team in college football and has done it now for 4 years. So since this is a resume, it's a track record, it's more than a trend, we will call it what it is. It's poor coaching and poor management of games. Will they turn it around with a new quarterback, new approach, new offensive coordinator here in 22? Welcome to the Voice of College Football, GBR. And of course, starting off in week 0, the Huskers look to turn around 3-9, 1-8 in the Big Ten, and get to a bowl game for the first time since 2016. Let's look at the schedule, then we will deliver our record prediction. Northwestern, of course, is the opener in Ireland. Nebraska scored as many points as its opponents in the Big Ten in 21. Well, how did that happen? Because they went 1-8. Well, they outscored Northwestern by 7 touchdowns, 56-7. This series has been a nail biter, except for last season. And there's really not a great comparison between personnel on these two teams. Nebraska should win this game comfortably. They're a 12.5-point favorite. Look out. Pat Fitzgerald's one of the best coaches in the country. He'll have his team prepared. They look like the team that comes in looser. Nebraska a bit tight. Just saying here that this could be a pitfall for the Huskers taking on Northwestern in Ireland, much like the Illinois game last year when I looked at that game and said, Nebraska should win the game. Will they win the game? Look out, Brett Bielema and company at home. So Northwestern, Nebraska, this is going to be huge for Nebraska to get off to a good start, to help the morale and build confidence for the rest of the season, plus get a game that they need to win in the Big Ten. They've got 4 more games at home in taking on the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota, Georgia Southern. Those have to be wins, of course. Then Oklahoma. The Huskers played the Sooners tough at Norman 23-16 last year. That's the story of the season, of course. And now they've got Oklahoma at home. That should be a really interesting affair for the Huskers. They probably don't win it, but they've got a good fighting chance against the Sooners. Then they get back to Big Ten play against Indiana at home. Got to win that game, as well as the date at Rutgers. So the season, aside from the Oklahoma game, starts soft, and then the backstretch is pretty tough. At Purdue, Illinois at home, and then the Big Ten Western Division gauntlet, sandwiched in there, Michigan at the Big House, but Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and if the Huskers find themselves in the thick of the Big Ten Western Division race, of course, they've got to win possibly all 3 of those games. If not, 2 of those 3, and also pick off Purdue. So 3 of 4 against Purdue, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, if they have hopes of winning the Big Ten Western Division. When we look at the difficulty of opponents on the Nebraska schedule, it's not what it was last year, so keep this in mind. Anytime you measure, especially a Big Ten Western Division team, and look at the schedule, who do they play in the East? Last year for Nebraska, it was Ohio State and Michigan State. Those 2 teams have been supplanted by Indiana and Rutgers. Nebraska still faces Michigan, but this time on the road. All right, the level of difficulty goes like this. Michigan on the road, then Oklahoma at home. Those by far the 2 most difficult opponents. Then it drops down a level to Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Purdue. Put them all in a bucket. Pretty much the same game in regards to difficulty, depending on home and road. And then you've got the rest of the Big Ten games, Indiana, Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois. They have to win. Talking about Nebraska against, of course, North Dakota and Georgia Southern. We look at the Huskers going 5-4 in the Big Ten, going 7-5 overall. They're going to lose to Michigan on the road and Oklahoma. Could they win those games? Yes, they could. They have the ability, the talent, the personnel to win those games. They're not as good as Michigan. They're not as good as Oklahoma. They would lose those games 7 or 8, maybe 9 times out of 10. But out of 10, they would win 1, 2, or 3 of those games. So they could win those games. If they turn into the anti-Nebraska of the last 4 or 5 seasons, then they'll start to turn around these close games. Then you've got that bucket of Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, and Wisconsin. Nebraska is going to drop at least 2 of those games, possibly 3. And then you've got the games against the rest of the Big Ten. And if Nebraska doesn't become a different form of Nebraska, they're going to drop one of those games as well, because they always do. 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten. That's a significant improvement. Does Scott Frost keep his job? I don't know. I think this is the deal. Nebraska goes 8-4. He keeps his job. They go 5-7 and miss a bowl game again. He's gone. 6-6, 7-5 is somewhere in between. I think then you measure how competitive are they against the good teams, which they have been the last couple seasons, especially in 21. So if they're competitive, but losing against Michigan, Oklahoma, etc., then that has to be taken into consideration as opposed to 4 touchdown losses. And then also recruiting. How is the recruiting going? All right. Our thoughts on Nebraska football. Leave your record projections down in the comment section below. And of course, join us every Tuesday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, where it counts, for Nebraska Live. See you next time.